Okay, it's 4:30. I'm gonna call the Albany Selectmen's meeting for January 8th to order. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hi, Kelly.
Hey, Kelly.
Hi, Kelly. Okay, new business, approval of the Selectmen's meeting minutes for December 18th.
Move to approve, as presented.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Approval of January 8th, 2025 consent file. Review and sign manifest in the amount of $27,229.98, $14,988.14. I said that wrong. The first one was $27,229.98. Did I say that?
Yep.
That's right.
Okay. $61,868.28. That is the 2024 year end. And $2,024.20. Also the end of 2025. This includes an amounts payable and payroll manifest for 12/23/24, 12/30/24, and 1/8/2025. Review and sign appointment of Sarah Young Knox as Albany representative to the North Country Council. Review, discuss, and approve or deny a notice of intent to cut wood or timber form for MAP 9, Lot 35, submitted by Tim Nolan. Review and sign tax redemption agreement for 154 Golden Oaks Road. Review and discuss, approve for operation of an individual sewage disposal system for 1302 Bald Hill Road.
Move to approve the consent file as presented.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, town administrator's report.
So we have an email from the sheriff asking about patrols, if you want the 4-hour or 3-hour. Should be in your stuff.
It's 4 days or 3 days? It's days, not hours?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Days.
Days, yes.
Right.
So either 4 days or 3 days. Each patrolling 4 hours at a time.
What's our budget now? We have the.
Kelly, what did he usually do? The 4?
Hi, Kelly. Is that an increase on the sheriff
No.
Yes,
for his budget?
yeah, they went up in the fee.
That's what I don't have a total.
I don't know if she can hear us or what.
I was muted. Can you hear me, Kelly?
I can now.
There
All
we
right,
go.
I was on mute. I'm sorry.
Did you guys have me on ignore?
We were muted.
No. With the sheriff, is that a yearly increase? I don't have last year's.
It
So-
was $75 an hour, and it's going to 90 after town meeting if we pass it.
We passed the new budget.
So yeah, they always make their stuff take effect April 1, just in case the town doesn't accept it.
Yeah.
So you had moved to 4 patrols last year. I don't know why he is scaling back to 3, because in the email that he sent you, he did include the 4 from January 1. So I didn't want me or Lisa to make that decision, but I think we should just pop them off an email that says, no, keep doing 4, and we understand there'll be $75 an hour from January to March, and then $90 an hour from April to December.
Yeah, I think he was just concern with the raise in his hourly rate that we might not want to stay at 4.
Well, and that's totally up to you guys, but I assume that with the increased accidents on 16 and the fact that they are now patrolling that. When I first went there, you guys had told them not to bother with 16 because it was a state road. But now they are, patrolling that
Right.
as well, so.
No, I don't have a
And
problem.
we've got, with the other issues, there's other issues in town
Yeah.
that they address when they're in town.
I don't see an issue. I mean, an increase,
Stay with the 4.
I would. Jim?
What have we put in the budget? 72,760. Now, does that include the town meeting?
Yeah,
The 72 does, right?
yeah, because his number is like 71.3,
Right.
and then we did like another 10 hours at $75, so we had another $750 to include town meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you look, we went a little over budget this year because there were so many elections, and I just missed-budgeted last year.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, the supervisor, the checklist, and the moderator really need to take some responsibility for budgeting for this stuff.
Yes.
Well, according to the last budget I got, we didn't overspend last year.
No, but there was like, I think Elisa, correct me if I'm wrong, that $92 bill did get charged to tax deeding, right?
Yes. I believe it did.
So I just updated all the records, and right now the expenditure, we budgeted 63.3 and we spent 68.7.
Lisa, do you have another budget?
So it was 5,200 over.
Is that more recent than the one you sent, that Kelly sent out to us?
This is the most, I believe, the most recent.
Which is?
This.
one is?
I just updated this last night from the bills we cut this week.
It's at the bottom of page 3. Very bottom line.
Okay. I would recommend we stay at the 4 and
I would too,
take the increase.
because they're gonna ask a lot of questions at town meeting.
Yep.
Why we would cut it back.
Right.
It's not somewhere where you want to cut.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not at this point, I mean,
Yeah. That looks good, Kelly.
and as long as the sheriff's department will have us.
Yeah.
So we wanna let them know, stay at 4.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
4 days.
Keep it as is, and we'll.
Is that something we have to vote on, or
Huh?
is that something we have to vote on, or?
No, cause just we'll vote on it when we vote on the budget. It'll just be included in the budget. There's really no change. Okay,
Yeah.
next, Elise.
Next is just reviewing, discussing the budget and warrant, so we can get the drafts uploaded tomorrow.
Okay. right, where we at?
So I think you have to make a final decision. I think, so you're okay with selectmen, you decided not to go for a raise, you're okay with town administrator, it includes me and her. I think that was kind of ironed out. The treasurer is fine. So you get down to the town clerk tax collector, and you really have to pull the trigger on the 5% COLA, the $30 an hour, and you may want to just look at her line items, because some of them, after I updated the expenditures, they're really close. We want to just make sure she has enough money to actually operate her budget, because if she doesn't, it's not like we don't have the money in the overall budget, but there's things that won't get done on other people's budgets if hers is misstated. So, philosophically, I understand that if you don't budget the money, you don't have the choice. But, you can't put it off anymore. You've got to decide.
I'm gonna recommend we appropriate the money, and when it comes time to do individual pay increases, we deal with it on that basis, not do it at this point, but have the money available. So we need to have it in the budget.
You usually give raises on January 1, so she's going to ask, and I don't think Elisa doesn't set salaries, you guys do, so
Yep. No,
Elisa needs to know what to tell her besides just handing her the budget that you're going to propose.
Shouldn't she come to us?
Well,
for the purposes of the
Yeah.
budget, we're just setting numbers tonight, but we're gonna deal with the outcome later, is the way I feel about it.
okay.
We appropriate the money, and then we'll decide how it gets spent when she comes to us and asks for it.
Okay.
Whether it's 5% across the board for each one, or however we split it up, we'll have time to discuss that at a later
The
date.
COLA for the Northeast is 3.5%. So, just
Yeah. I mean, I think just for the purpose of getting this budget set, we appropriate the money, and then we decide on how we spend it, if we spend it.
Now, the two deputies that we were originally told about,
Yeah.
is that a done deal, or is that something that's being proposed?
As far as I know, it's a proposal. I don't know anything's done. I haven't heard anything's done.
No.
Well, it can't be a done deal because the Board of Selectmen appoints at the recommendation of the town clerk tax.
We haven't appointed
Right,
anybody,
right.
so I mean.
Right. And the numbers that are on here for the budget is just to make sure there's money there
Right.
to deal with what we gotta deal with. And we're not backed into a corner.
Well, we're gonna have to deal with this with Sandy.
Yeah.
She's gonna have to put this together, come see us, but
She's gonna,
that's not helping us tonight.
because she's gonna see it in the budget, and she's gonna assume she just gets it. She's gonna escalate, because last year what you put in the budget, you made
Well-
effective January 1, and she asked me when it would be reflected in her paycheck. So that's the question that Lisa's gonna get after she sees this budget. So you will have to, make an appointment with her and explain to her how you see this happening.
Right. That's what I recommend. We actually get this
Okay.
out in the air, because just because you have a pot of money doesn't mean you divvy it up. We need to do that. But by all right, we should have the money available.
If an increase would be January 1st, does it have to be January 1st? It can be any time that we decide, right? If we decide.
Yeah.
Well, an increase should be a date of hire. Like Caitlin should be when she started her position. That's the date that she started. It shouldn't be.
Well, it would be if you were doing performance-based reviews, but you're not. You're
No,
doing a
no.
COLA.
And this town has always
January to
Done.
December.
cost of COLAs as of January 1st.
Well, if we're gonna do a COLA increase, that's easy. But if we're gonna do a pay adjustment to $30, that's not so easy. That's not something we just.
And the COLA
That's
at
not
5
assumed.
isn't easy either. It's COLA at
3.5.
3.5 is easy. That Anything more than that is
Well-
Right.
not.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty easy because you guys don't have anybody holding those positions right now. So, you know, well, I guess you do have Caitlin. Caitlin's still, and Caitlin's at, I think, $27.44 an hour. So, I mean, you can decide when you hire a second one, when you give a COLA for the deputies, but the money's there, and but you guys are going to have to proactively have
Yep.
that conversation.
Right,
Understood.
right.
But as you go down the budget, I have misgivings about a couple of these numbers. For example, 413542, the innerwear clerk work. She's already at 3993, and she budgeted 3400, and she only increased it to 3500. So I don't understand what's in that number. I don't know if something got miscoded or if that's a good number, because it wasn't like that a couple of weeks ago. So, I mean, I can look at the expenditure report and see what's included in there and see if something got miscoded. But if that number is correct, then you're under budgeting that line item already by $500.
Well, what got added since the,
There is an invoice that I just paid, the final one of the year, I believe.
Well, that just changes the previous budget, so. Year to date.
So I'm kind of confused because I thought there was only one clerk work bill a year.
yeah,
But,
what was the bill for, do you know?
well, here's the thing. I'm guessing that this 1231 bill that just got paid for $650 actually should go into 2025, because when I'm looking at the breakdown of that $39.93, on January 3rd, 2024, we paid $650, and then in June we paid $26.93. So that second $650 on December 31st probably should have been in 2025. So I think what we got to do is just leave it here for now, but we need to make a note to the auditor to move $650 from 2024 into 2025.
Okay.
And I'll give you these notes after too.
So that puts that budget number in line then.
Yep, should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what I usually do, because these get paid at the end of the year, I usually tell her to use like a 2% or a 3% escalator, because we just don't know what it's going to be next year. But that's using that, we've still managed to stay within the budget. You know, if you look at supplies, you know, she's at 1186. If you look at postage, she spent $29.44.70. She budgeted 29, and she's only budgeting 3,000 for next year. I'm concerned about that number because when has the U.S. Postal Service not raised rates? And she finished up this year at $29.44. Now, she has that postage meter that's $194 every quarter to lease. I don't understand that, but I think that $3,000 number probably should be closer to $3,200. How do you guys feel about that?
I feel great.
Yep.
I don't feel great that we're doing it, but I feel great.
Well, I think she needs to be put on notice that she has to keep track of her own budget and expenses throughout the course of the year.
And
I mean, this is her budget. I mean, if she were to overspend the bottom line of this budget, okay, where does that money come from?
Right.
Without us having to take it out of another line to accommodate
Yeah.
that.
I agree, and I think it's
And
part of
she
the
needs
bigger
to be put
conversation.
on notice in writing that
Yeah.
she needs a copy of this and at minimum, a quarterly report as to what those lines have been what part of those lines have been expended.
If we,
Her and Curtis get a monthly expenditure report from us. She knows what these numbers are.
She needs to be put on notice,
alright, let's
written.
tweak it as best we can, and we will have a meeting with her and do that.
That'll be part of it.
I mean, that's business 101.
No, that's right, you're right, and it'll be part of it.
Yeah.
But for the sake of getting this accomplished,
Right, well, no, I
Let's-
don't have a problem with that, but
let's help
she
out.
needs to be put on notice.
So
that
Kelly,
it's
if
her
you can give us
responsibility.
your recommendations, like,
Could I ask a question on the town clerk tax collector? That line for small equipment / maintenance, it was budgeted 2160 in '24. It was just spent at 2160 in '24, and it's blank right now in the '25 proposed budget. What is the reason for that?
Because she needed a replacement desktop. I don't remember if it was, I believe it was hers, not the deputies. I think the deputies got replaced the year before. Her desktop got replaced last year. It's all on a replacement schedule with CCS, which you should have gotten a month ago when Katie LaValle was there.
Yeah.
She has a whole schedule of when our laptops and when our desktops need to be redone.
No, okay,
There's
all
nothing,
right. With
there's
that,
nothing for the town clerk tax collector in 2025.
okay.
all right, with that said though, this line stated that it's for small equipment / maintenance. What if she has maintenance issues in '25?
Should we have a,
That line item is blank.
we should have $1 in there?
Should we have $1 in there, or should we put a small amount of money just for maintenance?
Either one, I mean, if she didn't identify anything, I mean, I would put at least $1 in there.
I'd say the buck.
Well, I mean,
Okay,
I'd say the buck. and
$1 it is.
She can sweat it out.
The rest of that line looks good? The rest of,
I think so.
The elections and registration and vitals is pretty easy because there's just town meeting this year. We don't have any federal or state elections.
Yeah.
The auditor number is a contract, so we took it right from there.
Yeah.
Supplies, I mean, it's kind of close, but I think we can live with it.
Yeah.
Town report is the number we got from Minuteman.
what about the printing line? Should that have a $1 put in it?
No, because the printing line is actually the headline for town report in general.
Gotcha,
Yeah.
okay.
So there's $1,300 for the town report, and then there's $100 in general printing. And then conferences, we pretty much left it the same. We did budget for the NHMA annual conference again. I think Elisa should partake of that if she can work it around your schedule.
Mm-hmm.
When you get down to computer equipment, same thing. That 1915 was for the new laptop for the town administrator's office.
Yeah.
And that laptop got bought, and we don't have anything scheduled for 2025. I did leave $1 because they are kind of maintaining 2 laptops now with me having one and her having one, just in case.
Yeah.
So there's money for postage, there's money, so if you look at the prepaid envelopes, I didn't have to buy any last year because I bought at the end of the previous year, but this year I'm looking, she's gonna need a couple boxes of pre-stamped envelopes, so you'll see that $800.
Yep.
And there's just mileage for trips to the post office and errands or conferences. And then you get down to the software support lines. Those numbers are all pretty good. We got a discount on Acrobat because I'm buying it annually now instead of every month. I think we're good. The GoDaddy stuff was a 2-year, and I just paid for it last year, so you're good for another year. And then you get down to the computer stuff. You talked about CCS a little bit last week, and you decided to keep with the 12,000 on Katie's recommendation.
Now that 12,000, what does that cover? When she was here, she listed a whole bunch of stuff that
Yeah.
she recommended, but we hadn't yet decided on doing. Does this 12,000 cover all of that list?
We talked at the budget meeting the other night, to keep the support stuff the same,
Yeah,
but go ahead and move forward with the .gov
Yeah.
switchover.
yeah,
And I think those two things together was that 12,000.
okay.
And wasn't there like something about Microsoft 365?
Yeah, the whole
Yeah.
transition into that,
Transition.
as part of the .gov
Right.
changeover, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not to go with a new server, that's kind of on the back burner.
Right.
I think you're pretty good with internet. Get down to assessing, that's a good number from Jason, and then I always add, Jason's contract is a not to exceed 20,000, and then we add 500 for Peter Howland, because he assesses our timber cut.
Yep.
And I think it was only a couple $100 this year, but I always leave enough that, depending on how many we have, we're good. The tax map updates, that's a 3-year contract. This would be year 2 of a 3 years. So you're good there. And again, I escalated the avatar by I think 8% because that's what it went up the previous year. The legal, you did really well with legal this year. I don't know if you anticipate anything with the big subdivision that you got in town. If you do, you might want to bump that up a little bit because you did not put money in the planning board. I think.
Well, you're referring to the habitat?
Yeah, it's the only big subdivision
Yeah, but
that I'm on.
hasn't that been approved by the planning board?
It's been approved.
Yeah, the application's been approved.
Just the application?
I believe so, yeah. I missed the last meeting, so.
We should find out on that, because if the planning board has approved that subdivision,
Mhm.
I don't think there'd be a whole lot of need
Right.
for legal at that point. We were anticipating legal if they were gonna try to build, what was it, 12 or 13?
Yeah,
You know,
I don't know that there's gonna be.
I'm 99% sure that application looked sufficient,
Yeah.
like there wasn't
I
much to
don't-
Right,
argue about it.
right.
I would still leave the 7,500 for legal.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah.
I wouldn't reduce it any, but,
I
yeah.
think that's a
I wouldn't
conservative
add any
number.
more.
And I did reduce the tax deeding because if you look at we raised 5,000 last year, but we also encumbered 5,000 and we still wound up spending 12, but we only have one case this year. So it should be fairly straightforward to deal with that one case.
right.
I don't know what we're gonna have in the fall. I mean, she deeds in September, October, so, there's some money there to do some work, but you should not have anywhere near, I think I was managing 3 payment plans last year, which meant 3 evictions and 3, just tracking it all legally, and so that was a lot. And we also had to demolish, we spent almost $9,000 demolishing that one trailer.
Right.
So I think that's a good number for tax deeding to the 3,000.
Yep.
Planning board looks good. I would say the planning board secretary came right up to the, I don't know if you want to put another $100 in the secretary line, because you budgeted 15 and you spent 23 and we bumped that up to 24. I don't understand, except that he's billing us for the zoning board under there too, I think, and I don't think we have a secretary for the zoning board.
Well, the ZBA secretary is listed in here at $300. We spent
Yeah.
240 last year.
Yeah, I don't understand how the planning board secretary salary, let me look at I'm in QuickBooks too, so I'll take a look at that.
Does he need a letter from the select board to emphasize the fact that he needs to get his pay requirements in on time?
You will be.
I don't know the answer to that question.
Did you get a response?
So his quarterly salaries were $490, $490, $550, and then $860. So that's a big paycheck for him. He did twice as much work in the, well, I guess he did because there's a lot of back and forth with Habitat.
Right, right.
I mean, I don't know, we upped that to 2,400, so hopefully that's enough because that seems like a big jump for 1 year. The 500, you guys feel good about the 500 for the technical advisor because you're gonna get that money back
Right,
from
Right, yeah.
the applicant.
right.
So there's something in there, but,
Yeah.
all right. So I think, that looks pretty good, the manuals, the travel, the conferences. You did put $1,000 in their legal line.
Yep.
Yeah,
They should have something in there.
that's what they wanted.
Okay. And then the ZBA members, that looks good. The secretary looks fine, the Medicare looks fine. Conferences fine, that looks reasonable for what they're asking.
Well, on the ZBA, when I set the budget in for them, didn't I have something included for legal? And should we put a line in there with $1 in it at least to be able to use in the event that they do need legal? I mean, we were anticipating Habitat being an issue and having to get legal advice on some of that. That doesn't seem to be the issue now, but we don't know today what's gonna come up in the next 12 months.
Yeah, I can make a note, we can add a line item.
At least put a $1 in it so that if they do need it, it's available and we can actually. Because I think when we put the budget in, when we had our meeting, we had put $1,000, I think, in that budget for legal, anticipating the Habitat. And where Habitat may not be an issue now, they certainly don't need the $1,000 in there, but
Let's do the $1.
You know,
Sounds right.
put $1 in there just in case.
Okay. Yeah, we'll create a new line item.
Okay. I mean, ZBA is up, but it's probably up where it should be right now.
Right.
I mean, for many years, for 7 or 8 years, I mean, there was only a couple of $100 in the ZBA because there was never any requirement.
Conservation Commission, is that what they asked for? Okay. Kathy, do hers?
Can I ask a quick question on our ordinances? If we were going to look at our ordinance over this next year and try to fine tune those, and we needed advice from that, where would that be coming out of the planning boards?
It would have to, yeah.
Okay.
I would think that you could almost tap into that consultant money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you should be able to get a lot of that information that you need. The planning board should be meeting for more than 10 or 15 minutes at every meeting.
Yes.
And they should be, when they don't have issues before them, they should be looking at the ordinances,
Yeah.
site plan review, et
Yeah.
cetera, and seeing what needs to be updated.
Yeah, and they're moving in that direction, or we are moving in that direction.
You know, I
It's
mean,
just-
I know Sean had mentioned hiring somebody to do
Yeah.
a revision on everything, and I'd oppose that. That's the
Yeah.
planning board's job.
Multiple,
Between North Country Council
Right.
and New Hampshire Municipal,
we should be able to handle our own.
you should be
with the
able to
advice that
handle
we
our
get.
own if you put the time in.
Yes.
That's what we've done in the past.
Yep, agreed. I'm just saying, if we needed some advice on that, that would come out of that planning board.
But the first place to go for advice would be to municipal.
Right.
Municipal isn't gonna answer a question on a subject that could possibly end up in court. They're gonna refer you to your town council
Right.
because they're the person that's
Yeah.
gonna, that's just a professional courtesy type
Yeah.
of thing. But if you need a question answered on an interpretation of an RSA to be able to correct something in an ordinance,
Yeah.
that should be coming from municipal association. That's what we pay $1,100 a year
Right, four. Gotcha.
to belong.
Well, you also have to do, the planning board should be doing its own homework.
Exactly.
It should find out, whose zoning ordinances locally or around here they like, and take a look at them and model after that. Look, there's 234 towns and cities in New Hampshire. There's no reason to recreate the wheel.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody's got a good definition of a shed, and somebody's got a good definition of a setback, and somebody's got a good, if there's a specific thing you're looking for, go to NHMA and say, hey, whose zoning ordinances do you like?
Right.
Or go online. You can go online and pull Madison's or Conway's or anybody else's zoning ordinance and say, hey, I like the way they do this section.
Right.
Can we adapt this to, I would call it Albanyizing, you know? You don't need the same statutes that Manchester and Conway or Concord have got, but there's lots of other little towns that have good ones too.
And the other thing, okay, the planning board in this town used to meet twice a month. Their mandatory once a month was the second Monday, I think, in the month. And the fourth Monday of the month was a work session specifically for looking at our ordinances, zoning, site plan review, subdivision regulations, etc.
Right.
And I'll tell you, when I was on the planning board for, I don't know, it was 5 or 6 years, we were there for 2 hours every night, and we were getting stuff
If you're gonna
done.
ask them to do that, then you better go back and double that membership attendance amount.
Well, I'm just saying, that's how it got done
That's not
before.
budgeted. Yeah, well, it's not budgeted for now, and it hasn't been in years because they don't do it. If anything, they cancel meetings they're supposed to have.
I know.
Okay, what's next on the line then?
All right, Conservation Commission's all set?
Yeah, I think so, and I think the government building, I mean, it's close, but I think you want it to be close. I don't see anything here that's shockingly
Yeah,
out of whack.
yeah.
I guess I had a question about the cemetery. I understand you're keeping everything the same, but was that 419503 that didn't get expended this year, did that get voted to encumber in December?
We encumbered $3,000, I believe.
Yeah, I believe it's 3,000. Yep.
Yes.
So you didn't encumber the whole 3,500, just 3,000?
Right.
We asked the select board rep to the cemetery, and that's what he told us.
Yes, because we had work done at Moody Cemetery for the $3,000. I haven't got the invoice yet. I've reached out to him, I just haven't got it. And I did request over voicemail that it be dated properly.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So the workers' comp and the general liability, the health insurance, disability, dental, life, those are all hard numbers. We've already got those, and I calculated them all, and honestly, they're not up that badly. And then North Country Council and New Hampshire, so New Hampshire Municipal, I budgeted the 1205 because we're going to move half of that 2364 back into 2025 because we accidentally paid 24 and 25 this year.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm confusing you.
No, got it.
And then the rest of them I think are good. The ambulance is the contract amount. The sheriff we've already talked about. The fire warden, we always put $1 in. Knock on wood, we haven't had a big forest fire in a hot minute. And then you get to the building permit administrator. So this year you added code enforcement to this. So this 5,400 is the 350 for the building permit administrator and 100 a month for the CEO.
Okay.
So it's 54, and then the Social Security reflects that. That public safety, that's for the maintenance, the annual maintenance on the generator, propane for the generator, and then whatever supplies you need. We are updating our EOP, and we do have a contract with MAP to do that. So that $2,000 reflects the update to the EOP.
Why was last year on supplies so high?
So we didn't finish the local hazard mitigation plan completely in 2023, even though we had budgeted for it in 2023. So we didn't have to budget again for it in 2024, but we didn't finish paying for it. And I want to say that got encumbered. So when you encumber money, it looks like it got overexpended, like the legal line for tax deeding.
Yeah.
There was 5,000 budgeted, but there was 5,000 encumbered, which you don't really have a way to show.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
And then you get into emergency management, you get into highways, which this is all Curtis's number. Elise, I did just want to note for you, I moved $902.50 that got put under a warrant article. It got charged to. Geez, where is it? $902.50 for Coleman got charged to 4912-7, which is a bridge work warrant article. It can't be there, so I moved it back into summer maintenance.
Okay.
So that number's a little bit higher.
Now, the $500 for the Albany-Madison plow turnaround, has anybody checked to see if that guy still owns the property?
No, I made that note for 2025 because I believe it changed hands in 2024 at the end of the year. So it's a note for Elisa, like, to not just pay that. I think you probably want to talk to Curtis because I don't know if, like, they might have sold it to Alonzo Hill's daughter, so he might still have the same arrangement with them, but it's something Elisa needs to.
Is that property located in Albany or is that located in Madison?
I don't know. This was an agreement Curtis made long before I came.
Because an A Hill does not show up in our property files anywhere.
That's what I'm saying. It
Right.
got sold in November or December, so I want Elisa to check with Curtis and see if he needs to do a new agreement with the new owner or if it's gonna go away.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So that's your solid waste number. Health officer, you're giving James Pandora $100 a month to do that job as well. We left some money in deputy and animal control just in case.
Now, back to the solid waste, we have a representative here. There's nothing in that line. Should we put $1 in that line in case I die?
Boy, you want us to have a party for you? What do we need money for?
I would recommend that we put $1 in that
Oh, the
line,
rep-
just
the
in
rep line,
case
yeah.
you have to appoint somebody. I mean,
Well, the board had decided when the last one resigned that they weren't going to pay for that position anymore and that they were
Yeah.
gonna be voluntary, so. But if you want $1, we can put $1.
well, it's hard to get help.
We don't wanna be backed into a corner.
Well, I mean, I think we can afford $1.
Okay.
All right, and then, let's see, direct assistance, 4,000, I don't know what to tell you about this. I mean, I think I did pretty good at keeping the expenses down in that, but you just never know. Parks and Rec is up 43%. The library, we have lowered that to more accurately reflect what they built this year. Patriotic Purposes covers the cemetery flags and then the U.S. flag and the New Hampshire flag for out in front of Town Hall. And Valley Vision represents what we collected in franchise fees in 2024. And then we left $1 in the TAN interest payment just in case.
That should go back as a warrant article,
What's that one?
the Valley Vision.
Not this year. I would say.
I did look at the Parks and Recreation information that they made, that made up that figure, and it looks in order.
Yeah.
Might pass.
That formula?
Yeah, they're not, they're not hitting us for lawnmowers and
Right.
tractors and stuff like that.
Okay, what's next?
Are you guys good with the budget? You want to go to the warrant articles
Yes,
quickly?
yes.
Yep.
So your budget right now stands at 964, 644. Well, it'll be a couple dollars more than that because you added a couple of $1. You had 200 and then you added
And the
two,
warrant.
200. It'll be 964, 847. So that's up like 83,000 and some change from last year. So I didn't know if you wanted to use, $80,000 from fund balance.
What's that, on the budget itself?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we can go through the rest of the warrant articles and see where you are with fund balance and then come back to this one and see if you want to put some against it.
Yep.
So, what's the number, you said we have a fund balance and it should be between certain percentages?
So, when we set the tax rate, the fund balance was $580,411, which was 27.7%. And DRA wants to see between like 5 and 17%.
So say we took it to, if we wanted to take it down to, what, 15% or
Well,
something?
the question, before you say that, of that fund balance, how much is real money?
You never know that because this is all your bad debt.
I realize that.
That's why I wouldn't say that you're going to use. I wouldn't even get near 15%. But I think if you
Right.
look at, if we go through the rest of the warrant articles, you'll see article number 7. You're using 100,000 potentially, and article number 5, you're using 50,000 And then article number 4, you're using 10, so you're using 160 right there.
Yeah, and I was trying to come up with a number that we wanted to use total.
Of that 580,000?
Yeah.
Okay, what would be the 18% number for that?
Right,
And what would be safe to use for reducing taxes?
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the taxpayers' money, I don't have a problem with that, but,
And I don't
That's right.
know what that number is because I don't compute that number, DRA does, based on, many other things.
right.
I mean, I could try calling Michelle Clark tomorrow and see if I could get a number, but again, I think if you use $80,000, you'd still be in fine shape.
In
You
fine
might
shape.
not have a ton to use when you set the tax rate next year, but you don't always use that anyway.
Right.
I think this is a better way to use it because the residents can see it. And
Yeah,
they can
oh
ask
no, I
about it.
agree.
And they know that you've raised it and you don't need it now, so you're giving it back to them.
All right, let's go through it, like you said, and then we'll have a better idea.
See if the town will, so number 3, to see if the town will vote to change the purpose of the Drake Hill Road Expendable Trust Fund to the Bridge and Culvert Expendable Trust Fund for the purposes of maintaining, replacing, and repairing. So I listed up clearly maintenance, replacement, and repairing of bridges and culverts.
And culverts,
So
yeah.
that,
That covers it.
so it doesn't tie his hands to anything
Yep,
he shouldn't be able to do.
yep. That's perfect.
And then
Yep.
number 4, we're gonna raise 10,000 to put in the new bridge and culvert expendable trust. Last year you put 8,000 in Drake, and I think you put, I wanna say you put 50 in the road. So I did 10 for the bridge fund and then 50 for the next one, and I took both of those from fund balance.
Yep.
And then when you get to Article 6, so this is discussion about the rebate. So, in the interim, I got the year-end number of the balances in the expendable trust and the capital reserve fund, and I thought there was only 14,000 in the reval, but there's actually $19,295 in that. So if you raise this 6, you'll have the 25,295. That'll give you 25 to do this year's reval, and then you can move to 6,000 in 2026, 27, 28, 29, and 30, which will raise you 30 for your next 5 years.
Right, yeah, and we'll worry about that then.
That sounds good.
So I think that puts you in good shape for this. It's enough money to do it. I do have to make sure that that is a trust fund, because if it isn't a trust fund, then we need a warrant article to remove it from the capital reserve fund. So I just need to verify with Michelle Clark that that is an expendable trust. I don't know why it wouldn't be, but if not, then we'll have to do a second warrant article. I guess we do a warrant article saying to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $6,000 for deposit in the revaluation expendable trust fund previously established, and to expend $25,000 for the 5-year reval. And you get down to 7, which is the 100 for paving, which Curtis asked for. And I also took that from fund balance because we did that last year.
Yep.
And then I did, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate $1,000 to the chapel. So that's what the CIP, I went back and looked at their spreadsheet and the minutes. And that's what they recommended.
Yep.
And then number
Now, is the
9
chapel fund an expendable one or not?
No.
We're trying to make 9 expendable, I thought. So we can,
So you can't, I don't believe you can change it from a capital reserve to an expendable. I think you have to get rid of it and
And then
reconstitute it.
reconstitute
And I
it.
don't know if you really want to do that in a year where you want to expend it.
yeah, I get it.
But Article 9 gives us the amount that we need to do reshingle the roof plus.
Yep.
Plus, so we can,
Yes.
Yeah.
That works.
And then 10, I did another 3,000. And I didn't know if you wanted this to come from taxation or from the expendable trust fund. I kind of assumed you wanted it to come from the expendable trust fund.
I would think so.
You got $3,000 in that. You're putting,
Well, if it's an expendable fund, isn't that a vote of the cemetery commissioners?
right, but you're putting 3,000 into it. Oh, no, you're not putting anything into it. You're,
No, that's what I'm saying. You're spending it.
No, because we did this last year, and I don't know why you would have done it if it was an expendable trust. I would leave it as a warrant article just so you're disclosing it. Um, 11, 6,000 is a town hall capital reserve fund. 12, 1,000 the emergency management fund. 13 is putting money into the cemetery expendable trust fund. So generally we put in whatever we collected in plots that year. And I don't have access to the revenue report, so I know we sold at least one plot this year. So I don't know if you want to like put $450 in there, or if you want to wait until next year and then add this year and next year's together.
Well, who has that report?
Elisa would have to go through all the revenue logs.
If it's only 1 or 2
Yeah, I know.
lots, I would say we leave it out and just deal with it next year. Why?
To the best of my recollection, there was just one.
I remember one person. I remember that.
They might have bought 2 plots, so it might have been $900, but at the most it's $900, at the least it's $450. So I'd almost leave it off and just put in next year whatever you get for 24 and 25.
As long as that's okay to do it, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
Will that pass muster with the auditors and with Michelle at
Yeah.
DRA?
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot to do it for 2 years. I didn't know that you guys did it, and I just got caught up last year, and I just added everything I hadn't put in yet.
Okay.
And then the rest are petitions. So you've got a petition from the Children Unlimited, and it's for the same amount as last year, $2,000. You've got a petition from Tri-County CAP, and you've got other supporting documentation this year, and it's for the same 1708 they asked for in 2024.
Yeah.
Got the petition and the supporting documents for Gibson Center, and that was the same price, $3,000. You've got a petition but no supporting docs for Starting Point, and they're asking for $42.43, which is $19 more than last year, but you don't have the supporting docs yet. You don't have anything from the Conway Humane Society yet, and you've got supporting documents from the White Mountain Health Center, but you don't actually have the petition, so we don't know how much they're going to be looking for. So that's where you are with the petitions that we've seen to date. That's not to say the deadline for petitions is February 4th, and that brings up the thing. So generally we set our public hearing date for the day after the petitions are due, so that would be February 5th, and then we create an alternate date of the following Wednesday in case of a snowstorm, burst pipe, no heat, whatever. So she's got to know, you got to set those dates for that public hearing so she can.
Let's do it right
So
now.
let's do it right now.
Yeah.
February 5th would be the public hearing date,
Yeah.
and
February 5th, public hearing,
What's-
and then.
what's on the calendar?
February 12th, February 12th would be the alternate date.
what day of the week is that, Wednesdays?
They're both Wednesdays.
Yeah,
Okay, done.
and that way, she can put it in the news, I think you have to put it in the newspaper 7 or 10 days before, and then put it on the website, and then after tonight, we can load this all up to the DRA portal and get her to vet this and make sure it's all right, because if there's any changes required by DRA, we need to know that before we publish anything for the public hearing.
Right.
And then, of course, you guys get 2 more bites at the apple. After the budget public hearing, you have to stick around and close the public hearing and vote on whether you're recommending the money warrant articles or not. And then, obviously, town meeting also can get a second bite at the apple. They can't create any new warrant articles or any new budget line items, but they can increase or decrease. So, you know, this is set in stone until you have a budget public hearing and until town meeting.
Right, right. Got all that?
Yep.
It's painless.
So close.
So as far as the unreserved balance and what we're taking out of it, we'd be taking out the 100, 50, 10, and you're saying 80 toward the budget itself?
Yeah, I mean,
240?
I think you'd be well within the parameters to take the 80. If
So
you
that-
don't feel comfortable with that, I mean, last year we took 50 because that's what the budget was up last year.
Right.
You know, you probably could go as high as 100. I wouldn't
No.
do that, but
No, I think that,
I think,
Our budget was up, what, 80-something thousand?
80, well, yeah, it'll be like 84 with the $203 that you added tonight. So it'd be like, it was 83 and some change, so it's probably 84,000, so 80.
Take 85
kind of
out.
help up.
let's take 85,
Yeah.
Okay,
the amount that it's gone up.
okay. All right, I'll make those changes and I will send them to Elisa tomorrow. And her and I will get busy getting this loaded up to the DRA portal.
And then the only thing I would ask is if you talk to Michelle at DRA, find out
Yeah.
if we're taking out 245 out of the fund balance, what percentage does that leave us?
Okay,
All right?
yeah.
No.
While I'm still here, Elisa, do you want to talk about the Kelly Harper contract?
I already explained it to Rick and the other guys about why we don't put a solid balance on the agreement.
Yeah, as long as we've got a legal opinion on it. I read the thing through and there was no total.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, if I was gonna sign, I wouldn't sign it, because there's no total on it.
Until X amount
Well, the
paid,
thing is,
yeah.
though, if we put a total on it, then we can't, then when she renews, we can't collect.
Well, you can put a caveat in there, a note in there that says that plus any additional interest, legal fees, blah, 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 blah. But,
And why would she sign that?
well,
I mean, this is.
if this is okay, then
Yeah.
drop it.
Yeah.
Drop.
If you got a legal opinion on it, that's good enough.
I got 3.
That's even better.
Can you get one more?
You got 3 boys, 3 agreements? Alright,
Thank
Girls,
you, Kelly.
great, both of you, great job.
Yep, thank
Yes.
you.
This
Thank
is
you very
really,
much.
really doing good. I appreciate it all. And,
No problem.
we're,
Hopefully DRA will love it as much as we do.
yeah.
Now, do we have to vote on this if you're gonna load it up on the,
No, I mean, because we want to make sure DRA approves it. If they need
Okay.
any little tweaks, if
Yep.
they change. Once they approve it, then we'll print it and you guys will have to sign it. And then that'll be the copy that gets
okay, I get
Okay.
it.
reviewed at the budget public hearing.
Yep,
With the caveat that petition warrant articles aren't due till February 4th. So that could be, we could be adding petitions right up until the 11th
right,
hour.
I got it.
Great.
Alrighty?
Alright, fantastic.
Elisa, I'll talk to you tomorrow morning.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much, Kelly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
You getting, the riot act? Cause I am too.
A little bit.
Kids.
Yeah.
Well, that's that.
No, that's
We did it.
great. That's a big relief to
Yeah.
have worked, most of it out.
Yeah. This is the worst of it.
Yeah.
After,
Yeah.
then you just gotta coast along and get us through this,
Yeah.
and it changes. I know it's hard with family life and everything, but then, this is what it is right now.
Yeah.
And but we're done.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Move
We
to
want to
adjourn.
shoot through the. did we
I second that.
Oh, yeah.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.